What's up, all you Lee haters? Have you ever wondered how I scaled my company to 60 million in 1 year? You think that everybody says I'm Mr. Fake Guru. Well, $179 million in roofs over the last 4 years. I don't know who else is sharing all the strengths, experience, and struggles along the way. I'm gonna tell you, building to 60 million annually the wrong way can break you. And I've seen it break some good men. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna go through my biggest lessons on this journey. Look, I'm not perfect, but one thing's for sure, I say if you're not self-aware, you don't have a prayer. So if you keep doing the same thing, expecting different results, it's literal insanity. I'm gonna hope that you avoid some of the same mistakes that I've made. Because if I could go backwards and start all over again, these are the 5 biggest lessons that I learned from scaling my company to 60 million. If you don't know, I'm Lee Haight, owner of RRCA, Sky Diamonds University. My mission is to be the best in the world at facilitating success in roofing. I believe that roofing is the best vehicle for the blue-collar American dream. We're AI-proof, we're essential, and we fix big problems for big paychecks, baby. And if you're watching this channel, you can learn everything you need to start, build, grow wealth in roofing. And I want you to know, like, it's my passion to teach everything, so I want to give you all the free game on this channel. Make sure that you pay the toll, subscribe, and share with a friend, because we're about to give you some killer lessons. The first and most important lesson: profit before growth. Because it's not about what you sell, it's about what you collect and what you keep. And in today's world, with private equity and Wall Street that want to buy roofing companies like crazy, I'm looking at the landscape of platform companies out there acquiring roofing companies. There's been hundreds of blue collar millionaires made because why? Wall Street is literally throwing big money at roofers because we're an unconsolidated market, because they're rolling up our industry so that they can make a lot of money. They know we're AI proof. And so if I would have gone backwards, I would say, of course, revenue is for vanity, profit is for sanity. And the number one rule, I read a book called Profit First. It talks about if you're able to take the percentage of profit that you're supposed to make, not just from the job, but literally break it down into different bank accounts. And essentially, the concept is simple. Number one, if you want to talk about profit before growth, don't sell any projects that are below a 40% margin. One of the most important things is I was dependent on insurance companies and what they paid, and if you're in a lower profit margin, you can get caught up trying to be a competitor, or you can differentiate. And with our sales process, we get a loan, we get a retail, like a better quality roof. We sell them on how we do a 5-star roof, we give them a lifetime warranty, and we may be a little bit more than the other people, but we get the insurance company to pay for it. That's what makes us different. And so profit before growth means A, that you learn how to pre-cap your jobs and you build everything over 40%. B, you never get in front of the money. Like when it comes to death by depreciation, if you're in insurance, a lot of times you're letting customers owe you for a long amount of time. You're supplementing your jobs, but the cash flow that you're bringing in isn't covering your material and labor. And profit is not just about like holding good job costs. It's about making sure that you don't go crazy investing into tons of overhead before it's the right time. In the book, The Lean Startup, it talks about flexibility, and today we're in the age of AI. Now you can have AI agents that are replacing accountants, you can have AI agents that are replacing collection agents, you can have AI agents that are out setting appointments, answering the phone, and what does that do? That reduces overhead for a roofing company. And if I was starting all over, I would look for a 15 to 20% margin on my roofing company. Roofers, are you having a hard time holding them alligators down? You know, cash flow because money's in depreciation. You know, sales guys becoming their own competition. You know, maybe it's the lead costs because Facebook and Google ad costs through the roof. The truth is, I've struggled with those alligators my entire life. There's a lot of BS roof coaches, guys that don't run roofing companies, guys that don't have sales teams, and guys that haven't created real wealth. Look, I've generated more than 400 million in results. And the key is getting the cost per acquisition on leads down, learning how to organically recruit on social media, going after bigger jobs. So look, if you click the link below, I'll give you the roadmap to scale and exit for 8 figures, and I'll show you what I've done to get more than 400 million in results. Check it out. See you inside. I know some of my best students. Let's take a case study on Cloto Construction. He's able to sell projects himself, get a lot of sales team, but off of $7 million when you're keeping your lean startup and building, he grew from doing 2 million to 7 million, but now he's making nearly 2 million in profit. And why? It's because he's invested into his brand, but he's not going out there crazy paying for high overhead office expense. You can get an office, but there's no reason to have something crazy expensive. You certainly don't need to own the building. You also don't need to own trucks. You don't need to buy for trucks. I've seen another guy that had scaled to 8 million, but he wasn't making money because during lean times he had all these trucks. Just renewing the insurance was 6 figures plus. So it's about selling the projects profitably, learning how to do it in a sales process. And for me, I knew how to sell the jobs, I knew how to build profitably, but what I didn't know is how to get more money when the insurance company didn't pay, get more money when everybody else was covering a deductible, and how to scale once to 10 million or bigger without spending extra money on extra support people, collections, extra support people, managers, the different layers of people that you need to hold people accountable. It's to make up for bad systems. So if you build the system right, a lot of that comes down to now the proper CRM, automations, checklists, our roofing red line stack. Looking back at it, I wish I knew everything I knew now. But you set your profits right from the jump. You keep a lean overhead that's less than 5% of your total revenue. You make sure that your ad budget never exceeds 3 to 5% of your total revenue. And you sell all the projects at a 45 to 50% margin, even if insurance companies paying below that with our insurance to retail roof and sue method. For me, it's profit before massive growth. Private equity want to see 30% growth in profit every year, and if I went backwards, I'd be focused on the profit before massive revenue growth. The second thing is hire leaders, not laborers. I see so many of y'all that are trying to make your first million, you're trying to do everything, when really it's developing a leadership in operations or a leadership as an admin assistant. Like trusting a strong OCD woman to kind of operate. Women are great at operations, and I see so many men in roofing not have enough women in their business. And frankly, I think there's a yin and yang to an OCD, really dialed in, feminine side to a roofing company. And so it does start with a good admin assistant, but I see so many people not willing to teach them, train them, develop them into leaders. The other part that I see guys really struggle is in the production department. Like making your first million means that you can't be the one taking all the crazy phone calls. It keeps you off of the streets. And so you want to be focused on the things that are the big things, like recruiting top talent, getting your cost per acquisition dialed in with your marketing, growing your social media brand, selling the biggest projects in the market. And as the leader, if you're focused on putting out all the fires all the time, that's why hiring laborers just to watch the jobs is not as important as developing the leadership in production, the leadership in accounts that's like your executive assistant that turns into potentially like someone who can really run your company as a business partner. And really that person, it started as my wife. She basically started in the telemarketing department, setting appointments, knocked doors, learned how to, but she also, when it came down to sending invoices to insurance companies, had to find out how the billing worked with the insurance. And so a lot of times, this position grows. One thing's for sure, that when you're hiring salespeople, which is the key of your organization, you're a sales organization first. Your job to make $1 million is to have a team leader that can run the sales team without you. A guy that can literally recruit, hire, train, retain a book of business that does $5 million in sales and makes $1 million in profit. Because the answer to a roofing company that's making $1 million but the owner has to do anything is you're not worth that much to private equity. And to make your first $1 million, you still are going to need probably a sales manager. I mean, you could do it off of onesie twosies, some big jobs to get lucky, but it's not going to be repeatable. And so I see so many of y'all on the crest of, making $1 million with your roofing company, but it's about developing a sales manager. And that means, look, before I found a good sales leader, before I got to my first $1 million recruit, I had to go through 5, 6 solid sales guys that didn't quite make it. Then to get to my first badass sales manager that was really good, I probably made a lot of people sales leaders that probably you'd look back and say it failed. And it's such a treacherous process as an owner. When you push someone into leadership, they go on to start their own company, or they become the competition, or worst of all, they go publicly and talk shit about you. Because the reality is, you wanted to help them, it's a brotherhood, they were in your family, and then you look back at why it didn't work and it's like, I suck, they suck, and it traumatizes you. And so people, they want shitty salespeople that don't talk back, that won't ever be their own boss, but that's stupid.
Most roofers never get to touch a bathroom like this. It doesn't smell of rich mahogany. It smells of diamonds, sky diamonds. And if you want to build wealth, now's the time. You can get a toilet like this. You just have to get more leads, more recruits, and build a brand on social media. Man, I love having nice stuff. And if you're a roofer, it's about having a nice boat, a big old truck, and a mansion. And if you want those things, you can just scale and exit your company for 8 figures. And the answer isn't just with me. It's not my system. I was taught by my uncle, by my dad. I took a little from Grant Cardone, from Andy Frisella, from Andy Elliott, and I got $400 million worth of results. That's why I'm sitting on diamonds. Click the link below and I'll show you exactly how you can get a mansion, a boat, and scale your company to 8 figures with more leads, more recruits, and cut overhead in half with AI. Click the link below.
You want people that want to start their own roofing company. You want people to build a business within your business. You want people that are literally like, hey, I want what you got. I'm going to learn everything that I can from you, and then I'm going to be the competition one day. I want that guy more than I want the guy that's just looking for a job. And some of you, when you meet that guy, are insulted. You're put off, and you don't know what you don't understand that every thoroughbred, every badass contractor has an independent spirit, and that's part of the game. You have to sell a dream where your vision, his dream fits inside of your dream. And some of y'all just don't have a big enough vision because you're just holding on to all the money, just trying to hire laborers, looking at how much you're making, and yeah, you're selling some jobs, you're leaving money on the table. But I mean, the reality is, it's like you don't really have a business that runs without you, and you don't have a team, and if you have to do everything. It's fun, but it's not always that much fun. Sometimes you can be a slave to your own business. And for me, until I really got like next level sales leaders, I remember the first guy, I knocked his grandma's door, and he was actually working in the Cheesecake Factory. And so this guy had been in prison 5 years, he got out, and he was reformed. He's a good looking guy, but I knew he had some bit of gift of gab. And so when I sold his grandma a roof, I let him keep the commission, and he literally quit his job at the Cheesecake Factory, became $1 million sales rep. Then he recruited what I call the Cons to Contractor program. Literally some guys that he went to the big house with, about 5 of them. And whenever they're giving me their rap sheets, it's like, we don't even want to go into some of them. We won't even mention names. We had strong arm robbery. We had an accidental death. It wasn't his fault. Someone drowned, drug overdose, bad situation. We had another one that was an accomplice to murder. And so these guys were all reformed coming out though of the deal. They were serious about changing their lives, and they were good. And so these 5 guys, they ended up, becoming a unit. And my dude that ran the company, that one day there was a time in the middle of the winter that he was like, I'm starting my own company. And it was probably because I passed an opportunity to give him to grow, because if you don't give people a chance to grow, then they go. And you have to always give people a place to grow. And that's sometimes a challenge. And if you want to make your first $1 million, this is very important. And that guy went on to start his own roofing company, make a multi-million-dollar amount of money, works now currently in the roofing business, has been very successful. And he's not the only one that has come through the program, but it's just an example that the leader that you hire, they may have a college degree, they may come from the penitentiary. But don't be afraid, because I look back and sort of regret that time period when I overlooked his opportunity to run the office and gave it to someone else, and that's when he started his company. And so you can't be afraid to hire leaders, and always give them a place to grow or they will go. Number 3 is you need to build systems before you need them. You're in the growth process. This is the Ray Dalio process of growth. So look on the screen. You grow your business until it breaks. The first point of breaking is probably when you have your first sales rep sells $1 million, you're at $2 million, you don't have a production manager, business breaks. Now this whole process that Ray Dalio identifies is that once it breaks, you're going backwards. People hate going backwards. And that's part of the journey as being an entrepreneur. And then you're looking for new solutions, you're iterating, you're looking for different ways. And let's say you find an executive assistant, you get a production team, and now you got a system that's working a little bit better. And now since you have a CRM and you have some of these things in place through the scaling roadmap, you start to put yourself on track to hire some more sales guys and get to 5 million. Once you get to 5 to 7 million, you're doing great with the system unless you can generate some leads. Now you need a way to train your systems. You need a real accountability to holding other people accountable. Now you got 5 sales guys working, leads are getting wasted, customers not getting taken care of. And if you don't have this checks and balances and system in place, then your business breaks it between 5 and 7 million and 10 million bucks. The sweet spot for the most profit in roofing is somewhere between 5 and 7 million dollars with the owner still doing a little bit of the work. You can really make a lot of money in that zone, but if you want to get bigger and go to making $10 million in sales and $2 million in profit, then you're really going to have to dial in your marketing message, improve your brand, become a guy with true systems and processes that can deliver a 5-star customer review and do it in a fast cash flow way. I'd say cash flow, sales is the biggest thing that stops the companies, and it's because you get in front of the money. And my business broke the first time I got to 10 million. I went back and forth, back and forth. Why? Because the sales managers I would create their own companies, because basically I wouldn't have systems that was good enough, marketing wise. I would work in one lead. When I was just doing 10 million, I was running all over the country. And if I would have really at that point said, I need to learn the ability to advertise for profit. I need to learn the ability to recruit, hire, train, retain systematically. I need to have ability to go start to finish in a build so that anyone can plug in and see the SOP of how it's built, what checklists are followed, what things are signed. If I would have done these things, then I wouldn't have been so chaotic, because you can grow. And you can grow and have fun and be happy, or you can grow fast and you can grow and have control, or you can grow fast, but you don't get to pick. Because if you want to grow fast, sometimes you do lose a little bit of control. And I fucking am a guy that puts the pedal to the metal, grows really, really fast. And if you're watching this right now, that's probably been some of the biggest challenges. Is I respect sales sometimes over systems. And if I would go backwards in time, it's these rules that my dad taught me. I mean, to complete an offer means that every single time that you sit down with somebody or do a virtual deal, that you give them a written proposal, to pre-cap your jobs correctly and accept the right project the right way. It's called the intake process. To never finish a job without the proper statement of completion, and to never leave without the invoice being delivered and talking to the homeowner when the last nail is driven. These systems, they're universal. The idea that we sell, build, collect, that the jobs broke down to a third, and a third. The idea is very simple. The first time that I went from 10 million to 20 to 30 million, holy shit. The biggest place that it broke was that insurance billing cycle. I didn't have a collections department. I needed now a whole department of people to chase down money from insurance companies, to supplement insurance companies. And it was crazy. It was chaos. And I will tell you, there's a lot of things that I didn't have. I didn't have quarterly meetings. I didn't have a meeting structure. I didn't have a clear vision and clear goals. And this system of business is about having a one-page plan of attack, that where everybody's understanding your mission statement, what your targets are, what everybody's job descriptions are, what your core values are. And if culture is everything, there's a system to creating culture, and I didn't have that system in the beginning. And so when I got to 20 million for the first time, without any culture, without any meetings, without really any collections department, there was all kinds of hell that broke loose. But again, you grow your business until it breaks, then you work a redesigned solution going backwards, and it's really bad because you got all these people watching you, and oh my goodness, what is the worst thing that can happen? People are gonna make fun of you for failing in business. Oh, cry me a tear. You think our president became president without bankruptcy? He's got 17 Chapter 11 bankruptcies, and he was rewarded with the American presidency. We live in a democracy and in a place where the American dream, like, so what if you fail? You can get yourself up and try again. And I failed many times, but I never stopped growing on the progress reel. And the system to go from 20 million to 40 million, we had to rebuild the CRM. My dad had a software. It was a good software. But at that point, we outgrew it, and I had to punt it. And I will never forget the first year that I went away from the CRM that we had sold. It was called Claim Express, and it came out right at the same time of AccuLinks. We were before Job Nimbus. We had a great system to go through the insurance process, but it wasn't connecting to these other softwares, and it was outdated, so we had outgrown it. And so rebuilding my CRM from 20 to 40 million, implementing meeting structure, getting a run by the numbers approach. I had to literally get a new CFO, COO, and at this point, I didn't even bring everybody in with job descriptions. I didn't have contracts for everybody. And so when you're hiring all these people and you don't have KPIs and job descriptions for folks, it's reckless growth, and you end up overpaying for mediocre results across the board. And when you scale a saturated part of your company, you scale fat, and you scale bigger, and the problems are exposed. And so the thing that I learned most about going from 40 to 60 million, wouldn't have done it without the next step, and I'm going to break it down here right now. Number 4 is probably the most important number there is. You have to know your marketing metrics. The best way for you to create an awesome best lead in roofing, which isn't a lead on a roof. What is the best lead in roofing? It is a young, hungry entrepreneur who wants to join your company and build his blue-collar American dream within yours. And for me, one of the most valuable things that I could do was build a brand on social media so that I would never have a problem getting leads again. And one of the things that I invested in was, growing my brand, hiring a marketing team, editing videos, the cost of truly growing on social media. Look, you need coaching, you need support, you need execution. And yeah, you could do it for free, but if you don't know what you're doing, no one's gonna see it. You're not gonna go anywhere. And knowing my marketing numbers, the most important number is the cost per acquisition of a customer and the cost per acquisition of a recruit. Now, there's a lot more important numbers in business, but if I know exactly how much it costs me to put an advertisement out there to hire a sales rep, there's a couple different ways we recruit. Organically, we build our brand. We recruit through, lots of different ways, organic social media. We build an email list. That's a very kind of long-term journey everyone should be doing. We also use paid ads off of social media and AI to follow up on them. And through automated text, individual one-on-one interviews get pushed to a group interview where our top performing leaders pitch the business opportunity on a group interview or Zoom call once a week. Some of the largest virtual sales entrepreneurs, take for instance this guy on social media, 5 million followers, Spencer. He's advertising for life insurance, white collar versus blue collar. I'd rather get my money in the mud, not with my hands, but since roofs are real expensive, you can make a lot of money in them, and if you can sell to equity or build to equity, that I believe there's more money in roofing right now than there's anything else. But Spencer, he does really good creating content, getting people to his Zoom call, and I do the same thing. I would tell you that we drive traffic to the recruiting Zoom through Indeed. We drive traffic through social media ads. We drive traffic through our organic social media. And so all of it together gets us a cost per acquisition on a recruit. Now, how much does it cost in sales management to develop that guy? And your marketing numbers are what it costs to get the people in the door. And I would say that a solid recruit, man, it's worth $5,000. If you're gonna get a solid recruit, the coolest thing about it is that there's not as much of a failure rate. Typically there's about an 80% failure rate in recruiting, but when they come through really good funnels, you'd be surprised, and they're really qualified. The thoroughbreds last at least 50% of the time or better. And that kind of gets me to the next number, the marketing number that matters most, which is, look, on Facebook, for the longest time, I'd be creating leads on Facebook. There'd be so many leads for so cheap. I'd be like, holy shit, I'm getting $20 and $50 leads. But the reality is that a lead is a lead, but it's not an appointment. An appointment can never be a deal. And if the lead stays in your system and they never answer the phone and they never set an appointment, were they a lead anyways? I mean, did you ever talk to them? And so who cares about the cost per lead? What really matters is what's your cost per appointment and what goes into the cost per appointment for social media, for advertising, the video ads, the guy that comes and pays and runs your marketing team, along with the amount of money that you pay Facebook and Google. And what we've learned is that through 3 different videos, it's about creating 5 videos a month. It's about using a hook story offer framework. We use hidden damage. There's an epidemic of hidden damage. Click the link below. Mr. John got his roof paid for by the insurance, and you can too. Another one, which is called the build video, which is, stop right there. Mr. Jones didn't take the money out of his bank account. He had legitimate damage and it was paid for by the insurance. It's being installed right now. Let me give a tour of this build. We're upgrading his roof to ice and water shield. We're putting on better ridge vent. This was all paid for by the insurance. And if you're watching this video, we're in your neighborhood, and click the link below. We'll do a free hail damage inspection. We've got all different variations, but maybe the strongest one's a testimonial video. We just shot one. We got a roof paid for by the insurance. I bought a bunch of stuff from the customer, and next thing I know, I say, you need to do a testimonial video for it. And you know, the most important question is, what was your biggest fear? Then the customer goes and sells for you, overcoming the newer buyer's objections. And if you lower your cost per acquisition, it's going to be through the better quality content. Now, Facebook used to be a lot cheaper. Now it's about literally getting them to schedule an appointment right when they're at the point of the sell. And I would say overall, my history for all the Facebook appointments that I've ever ran, they close at a 25 to 32% rate. And so if you can get your appointment, your cost per appointment to $100 to $200 an appointment, and you can get your close rate to 25%, then you're getting roofs a cost per acquisition for $400 to $800 a contract. Now the problem is, if you're in insurance and you get contingencies, how many of those get denied? How many of those do you use? How quickly do y'all turn that into money? For me, I'm getting a loan right up front, and I'm getting cash from my banking partners to buy the materials, but I'm also submitting a hard number contract and the ability to build the roof in 30 to 60 days. And that does make it easier for me to rinse, wash, and repeat, because if I spent $1,000 to acquire that client, and the company here is $35,000 average, 15% gross for the company, that's maybe $5,000 in profit for the company. How many times are you gonna spend $1,000 to make $5,000? And people just don't give me credit. I wrote the book on contracting ghost secrets. I've spent hundreds of millions of dollars in ads for myself. I've generated hundreds of millions of dollars. I mean, I didn't spend hundreds of millions. I've generated hundreds of millions, but I've spent millions of dollars. And you talk to your, new marketing agency on Facebook that's advertising to you, or some, have they spent their own money on roofing ads, or are they just spending other people's money? Because what I've found is that by using AI to automate appointment setting, by really getting solid with our text messages, and now it's lowering our cost per acquisition through virtual sales. We're taking an Elon Musk approach and removing steps of the process. We would lose, and there would be a high loss or attrition, because sometimes the salespeople wouldn't show up to appointments, sometimes the owners wouldn't show up to appointments, sometimes the sales guys wouldn't follow our sales process, sometimes the insurance wouldn't pay for the roof. And what we did is we eliminated all those steps with the insurance to retail over the phone, first day contingency to loan process. And that lowered our cost per acquisition. Another thing that we did, we used AI to build smarter lists. And knowing my marketing numbers, I love Facebook, I love video, I created the blue collar marketing method. But when I found out that if I could find lists of roofs that are over 15 years old and I could use AI to set the appointment, maybe this golden goose that I wrote a book about, Facebook wasn't the best cost per acquisition. Here recently we found through our AI method in our drone pitch that this strategy, I'm with my call center out of Central America, is literally 5 times cheaper than Facebook. Now, I gotta go with the numbers, I gotta go with the math. and am I gonna put more money into my Facebook leads, or am I gonna put more money into these other AI leads? Right now I'm going all in on AI. I've been all in on AI because I've always let the algorithm, we call it spray, pray, and retarget, when we use dynamic creative, which is 5 different videos. The inside of Meta is going to split test all the videos, and they're going to serve the videos to the person that's most likely to buy that video. They're going to do the same thing with the creative, the copy, the audience, and then we're going to retarget who actually watched those videos. Look, this is how we lower our cost per acquisition, and if you want help getting this dialed in for your roofing company, I know more than the other marketing goofball that's never spent money and generated jobs himself. Plus, I know the more you sell, the more you lower your acquisition costs, and I can help you actually sell. So the reality is there's nobody better to help you, and I'm not really a coach. I'm looking to acquire and find the right partners. So if that's you and you want to know my secrets, click the link, get the scaling roadmap, schedule a call. We'll be happy to help you out. Next secret, maybe most important one. Number 5. Culture is greater than everything, and probably the most important lesson I learned from Ed Milet and Andy Frisella. That they came along my life right when I was trying to go from 20 million to 40 million. I'd actually lost a key leader to one of the competitors. This company was called CMR, and I lost one of my sales managers because I guess he wasn't aligned with my big picture vision. I guess he didn't see his dream inside of my dream, but what I really felt like he left was because I didn't have the 6 systems and structure, and what I really wasn't doing was core values, okay? He didn't understand really what defined me, my company, my mission. Like, we're on the mission to become the Chick-fil-A of roofing. We want to be the wealthiest organization in roofing. We want to create the most blue-collar millionaires. We want to have the hand-down best system for success. We literally want to be the standard for service and growth. And if you're watching this, whether it's the Yankees or it's the Patriots, God forbid in the old days in the 90s would be the Cowboys, which I've been destined to be a fan for, but I wouldn't use them as an example of greatness other than being the value of their franchise. But I can just tell you, the vision of being that in roofing is the reason why I show up to work. And culture is everything. And how do I have good culture? Well, first of all, your culture is a reflection of the leader. So for me, most important core value of our company, personal development, and how serious I'm taking mentally, physically, spiritually, personal development, how I lead the team, what books am I reading, how do I act in the gym, am I living a good life as a husband, as a father, and how do I carry myself. There's been so many times my biggest weaknesses that I snap, but in the past, here are my core values, personal development being one, excellence and integrity being a prerequisite, but innovation. We come up with different ways to solve the problem, and if you can't use technology, get out. Number 2, speed. Dude, I believe money is attracted to speed, and anybody that has to overthink everything is usually part of the biggest problems that I come across. I like people that move fast and move direct, and I believe in speed. If, like Mark Zuckerberg says, we have to move fast and break shit, I'll move fast and I'll clean up my shit. But the reality is I'll take the guy that moves fast over the overthinker. Next, I would say that overall, this is very important to roofing companies. You have to protect the house. We add this later because if the house falls down, everyone falls down. And you have to protect it. So many people are out for themselves, really embodying innovation, speed, personal development, protect the house, integrity, and excellence. This sort of embodies everything that we're trying to be as far as the Chick-fil-A of roofing. And as far as culture goes, it's one thing being the example. I mean, remember the first time that we did team workouts? I joined this Andy Frisella group. Everybody else is high on fitness. I am skinny fat with man tits. And so I committed to do 75 hard. And that's the first time I really started getting more physical fitness in my company. And here recently, one of the guys in my company that's one of our top leaders, he told me that he hadn't been going to the gym for 15 years. And so I got a personal trainer in a mobile gym called Versa Gym, and a friend of mine, Carlos, to come to the office 3 times a week. And I wanted him to step up. I wanted him to get more accountable because Andy Frisella taught me that if I could be harder on myself, completing 75 hard, working out, crazy, going through these crazy commitments, that I could be harder on the people I'm around. One of the things I wanted to improve my operations partner's skills on was how he held the line, how he was able to hold people accountable and protect the house. And I felt like if he would get in better shape, if we spent more time talking, then anyways, this has been a great addition and growth for our culture this year. But I would say the first time I did a quarterly meeting, I read the book, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. This is a great book that shows how to kind of fix everything in your company by sending everybody on a 2 or 3 day away from the office retreat to literally go through everything that it takes to get everyone in alignment. And this is the biggest jump from 20 to 40 million. I think we went to Island Rock Duck Key. At the time, I had a bunch of leaders, and one of the craziest questions that we ask is, what's the toughest thing that you had to go through as a human? And listening to all the people's struggle and pain and the tough backgrounds that people would come to makes you understand what really makes people tick. And I didn't realize how much people are really there's some stress and trauma affects people and defines who they are. And so people knowing that you care, people knowing the mission, people knowing the values, and knowing where the company goes is very important. And getting from 40 million to 60 million, I'd say the biggest number that really helped culture or book was called a book called Scaling Up. It helped me really sharpen out a one-page plan of attack. And the one-page plan of attack clearly outlined mission, core values, and key metrics for each department, in which we gave a KPI to every department, and we gave the responsibility of the goal to the person that was in charge. And I'd say the thing that helps culture the most is this meeting structure. Sometimes, I hate meetings. A company that has too many meetings sucks, doesn't have good systems, but guys have to go over what's working, what's not working, and where are we making progress towards the goal, what's holding you back. That's really what we need to share, because we need a place in our company that you cannot hide. And when you tolerate average in your company, that's where you breed cancer. And so when you have cancer, cannot live in the light. And so by having meetings and accountability and everyone public declaration of goals, one of the things that we did was we get everyone at our company to take strength finders tests to find out what really makes them tick. One of the guys, he's been a 3-time Rolex winner. He's been a sales leader, he earned equity in our company. And one of the things that he did was he had harmony. And so during one of our tough times scaling, we're trying to work ourselves out of 8 insurance companies going out of business. I'm going crazy on meetings. I'm super hard driving like David Goggins, CEO. Having this guy as an assistant really helped kind of compliment me. And it's funny how it all works when you know people's strengths. I'd say that what drives culture more than anything else, I gave people a vision in which they could earn equity in my company, that together we were going to build something that was going to create generational wealth. And that there's people that are employees and early adopters of Apple that were paid with pieces of stock, and now they make up some of the most expensive real estate in all of America. And I just think of key people in my company being able to earn equity based off of performance. And even if you're a salesman, you can earn equity in my company based off of performance. But we will repulse you if you don't personal development. We will repulse you if you don't move with speed. If you have any form of non-integrity and you want to do things half-assed, you're not going to coexist around us, because we hold our standard really high. And we have a lot of meetings. We get together all the time. There's a scoreboard every day and a group chat. And I think, honestly, the group chat is some of the most important things about the door-to-door culture. The competitive scoreboard for sales is culture. We have something called the National Roofing League. And if for sales guys, we give a Rolex when they earn $1 million. That was another thing about Ed Milet. It's something that they can look down at and they can see forever that I was a part of something big. And men really like to be able to carry around, because when you're sitting at a deal table and you got a nice watch, it gives you a different level of confidence. And it just became this thing that the first time that I gave away 20 Rolexes was when the beef with the other YouTubers started. Because it's very I spent 80 grand or 100 grand on watches that day. And I guess somebody that's never done $3 million in sales, that's a roofer, must think that I'm a blowhard, fake guru, douchebag because I gave away 20 Rolexes to all my best sales reps. Well, you could say that I'm a bit of a douchebag or a blowhard. But what you can't say is that I don't put my money. You got to use the money to love the people. Once they see that you love the money and use the people, then that's where your culture goes away. And so reinvesting in my own personal development set the tone for everyone else as a personal development company. Going to all these different events, I want to create an event and that culture for my company. It's why people stick around. And I am crazy, I am intense, but they know that we're innovative with our technology, with our innovation, with our sales approach, that we have this incredible upside, and that I really care. And with the culture being that we're going to create more blue collar millionaires than anybody else. We're going to raise the status for the blue collar American dream. We're going to, like, as all these other industries collapse, we're going to thrive and grow a Noah's Ark that lets people get the American dream. Creating 100 multimillionaires in roofing, if you never made your $1 million before, brother, clearly define your core values. Clearly define your mission statement. Shoot for the moon, brother. Have a big, hairy, scary goal. And if I would have focused on getting rid of the turds, this is another thing. You need 3 things to grow your roofing business. Average sales rep sells $400,000 a year. You need to recruit a lot of sales reps. You need to turn the good sales reps into leaders. Okay, everybody becomes a leader. Everybody gets pushed to core values. We grow, grow, grow. Put them in the gym. We get them to church. We get them into personal development. We get them with their goals. And this is what we do. We're a factory of building great men and women. That's our job. But the last part of the job is the hardest thing about remaining culture. And do you know what it is? It's about getting rid of people that don't align with the culture. The firing squad. The firing squad, the executioner, when people hang themselves or drown. Man, that's literally, that's figuratively, not literally. And you know, sometimes you got to go take Old Yeller in the back of the bone and shoot him. I don't like firing people. I don't. It's really hard. It's very traumatic. I want everybody to win. But it's a very necessary part, because when people don't do their job and you continue to tolerate it, what does it do for everyone else? It makes everyone else be less motivated. If you're harder on one person, so this cohesive group I used to say was a family, but it's more like a sports team, that you have to earn your right to play on the team. You have to be good at practice, be good in the game, and when your teammates down, pat them on the butt. The reality is, culture is more important than everything. And these are the biggest lessons that took me to 60 million, 179 million in the last 4 years. Collectively, between all of the companies we've acquired, 100 million is the goal for 2025. We're pushing hard in this final quarter. And what I want you to know is I build $10 million companies like clockwork. We can help you get you more leads, more recruits, and we can systemize it into profit first. If I would have started over, I would have had the system that I had now, would have eliminated a lot of pain. We've had 6 different companies actually scale and exit, and 40 plus go from 1 to 2 million to 10 million. And lots of guys have trained, and if you've got any value from this program, the biggest thing that I can do is see if you're a good fit for our blue collar American Dream platform. What we're trying to do is scale and exit 100 blue collar roofing companies. Like, I'm focused on roofing. Roofing is my thing. Maybe one day we're gonna add on other things, but right now I'm all into the roofers. And so if you are trying to make your first million and need help, you need systems, processes, you need people, you need core values. Look, I'm happy to help you. Just go ahead and check out the Scaling Roadmap. Make sure that you subscribe and check out more of these different style videos where we're not just going on crazy vlogs, where I'm giving you insight, all the game, because I've made a commitment to bring up the value on this channel. So look, if you've enjoyed this, make sure that you comment below, and we see you on the next video. You're gonna see a lot more like this.